This is what I think about the agenda. No, I got it. It's,
I'm just
oh, thank you. I just hope that's not what I think about your agenda, though. It's this stuff.
Nancy Pelosi?
That's the closing, yeah. Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the worst.
You what?
Probably 6 feet apart.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I
Or 6 feet
Our new
apart when it
measurements.
matters. There's COVID in here.
I'd like to call this meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everyone here today, and at this time, I'd like to give the opening to Councillor Jake Siemens.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Fall is my favorite time of year. It's a time when we see what has become of plantings that were planned through last winter and maybe last fall when we saw what the results were. Planted this spring, and then we saw all the results through summer and early fall. That includes gardens, flowers, and city projects as well. Like every year, the weather seems to stay warm till the first school bus arrives, and then the weather is colder. And a sweater or jacket is needed, and the nights at times have frost. I had an old neighbor who used to always tell me, he says he wears a t-shirt till he sees the kids go get on the school bus, and then he had to start wearing a sweater, and that falls true almost every year. The smells change as well through the seasons, from the cold smells of last winter to the fall leaves now, and other items that are burnt in the backyard, and the fireplaces begin to drift smoke out of the chimneys. Of course, the smell of dust burning off the furnace, the first time one changes from air conditioning to heat, is something we all generally experience as well. Fall is usually the time of year when change happens, and for most, and for different places, new beginnings that line up after summer holidays and with the new school year, and that includes schools, churches start a new year after a summer off. Winter sports like hockey, volleyball, and basketball begin. Volunteers are asked to to attend meetings again and get ready for all the winter activities that are being planned. And in some cases, planning the Christmas pageants already starts. Maybe it's different this year with COVID. Again, this year I've enjoyed our flower planting display at the City of Steinbach has put on. While it changes every year what is planted, there are many that remain the same year over year. And seeing other communities try and duplicate what Steinbach has done with flower pots is also very interesting. Again, our flower pots were the envy of other communities, but also our own residents who can't get their own plants to show like the city's pots show. We have an amazing display of perennials at Care Barkman Park that are accented by annuals. Take a good walk around City Hall and you get a great visual display. So it isn't long before the first killer frost is going to hit our gardens and our flower beds. We came close 2 days ago. The good thing is that all the insects that bother us will also disappear with the first frost. The trees are beginning to show their fall colors, and the cool mornings tell us that definitely the season is changing. Unlike last year, hopefully the rains stay away, or at least the downpours we experienced last year all stay away. In my opinion, the best time of year is upon us, Mr. Mayor. Hopefully we can experience a long fall before the first snows of winter.
Thank you, Councillor Siemens, and I would concur. I think fall is my favorite season that we get to go through. Okay, Council, we have the agenda in front of us. Look for a motion to adopt. Councillor Penner, second by Councillor Swykstra. Call for the question. All those in favor? That is carried. We got the minutes of September 1, 2020, the regular council meeting. They start on page 1. Council, we've had an opportunity to review them. Looking for a motion to approve. Councillor Hebert, second by Councillor Siemens. Call for the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Is there any business arising from the minutes? Okay, seeing none, we'll move forward. It is just a little bit before 7:35, so we will move down to number 9, administration, accounts payable. That's in the back of the book. Council, we've had an opportunity to review that too. Looking for a motion to approve. Councillor Penner, second by Councillor Penner. Any comments?
No comments.
Okay. We'll call for the question. All those in favor? That is carried. We've got 9B, Also in the back of the book, that is the financial statements ending August 31st, 2020. Looking for a motion to approve. Councillor Siemens, second by Councillor Hebert. Is there any comments?
I'd just like to say thank you to the staff that works hard in bringing these to us every couple of months and stuff, so bouquet to the staff.
Okay, thank you. Anything further? Call for the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Okay, council, it is now 7:35, so we will move up to number 6, the public hearing. This will be for bylaw 2154. This is referring to Wyndham Estate Drive. It starts on page 3 of our package. At this time, I will close the public hearing, close the council meeting, open the public hearing. Mr. Workington, can you please introduce this file?
Yes, this is application for rezoning under bylaw 2154. This public hearing is also concurrent with another file, Subdivision 4451-2020-8330, and the related road opening with respect to that application. And this is for Lot 60, Plan 59848, which is a parcel of land that is accessed off of Wyndham Estate Drive. The owner and the property of the property is Stonebridge Development Corporation. The applicant for the rezoning is Lowen Henderson Bandman Legault LLP. The purpose of the rezoning bylaw 2154 is to rezone a portion of the subject property from RMD, residential medium density, to RSF, residential single family. And the purpose of subdivision 4451-2020-8330 is to permit the road opening of Winston Place, which is being proposed in connection with the subdivision to create 37 residential single-family lots and 7 residential medium-density lots. And the applicant is proposing to subdivide the property in order to allow for residential development. Notices as required under the Planning Act have been issued. There is no written correspondence on the file. Recommendation from administration, firstly, is for City Council to consider bylaw 2154, the rezoning. Recommendation is to approve second and third reading, subject to the outcome of the public hearing and the execution of a development agreement. Secondly, administration's recommendation for subdivision file 4451-2020-8330 is also to approve that application, subject to development agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Workington. We will be taking these one at a time. Hello. We'll be taking these one at a time, starting first with the bylaw for Wyndham Estate. Right, bylaw 2154. Deal with that, then we'll go into the subdivision. Okay. Is the applicant here tonight? Do you wish to speak? Okay. Take the podium. It's not your first rodeo, but state your name and your address. And
I'm Keith Unger, 122 Granite Park Boulevard, and we're going to do a bit of a different development, not for Steinbach, but maybe for this area. I think the most significant thing to state is this land was zoned multifamily. I believe we could have done a 3- or 4-story building here. We feel that this will actually fit the neighborhood quite a bit better, and it'll also allow for several different demographics of homes in that area. Right now, you're noticing a large concentration of higher-end homes. This lot size will allow for a little more of a diverse spectrum. There is a mixture of lot sizes in here, and we want it to fit into the neighborhood. So we've come up with some pretty attractive floor plans. and we'll start offering homes and, yeah, offering homes with garages, and it's not going to be necessarily an entry-level home, but it'll give us a chance to offer something at a price point a little lower than the average price point in the area.
Thank you. Councillor, are there any questions for the applicant? All right, go ahead, Councillor Hebert.
Mayor, through you. I noticed there's 2 green spaces. The one to the, I guess that would be to the west or northwest there. No, that'd be southwest corner. Looks more like a walkway than a green space. Is that only a small walkway opposed to a park area?
I believe that's just for water and sewer. I don't believe that that's necessary.
Not even a walkway?
No. There's a walkway 1 bay over on Aston. I'm correct, right, Troy?
I believe the proposed access to Wyndham Estates Drive, if you go 2 lots to the west, there is a strip of public reserve which does provide connection to a sidewalk network.
There is.
Yes.
So through Winston here?
That would be through, well, that would be connecting Wyndham Estates Drive. And as far as Aston, I don't believe there is a direct connection unless...
I believe the easement is for servicing, and if you're going to build a walkway above that, that might be an access, and then the other green space is on the inside corner.
Right here.
Correct.
I just noticed that it's fairly narrow, and there's 2 large lots on either side. I think they're 10,000 square feet each. So I'm just wondering if it's going to be a walkway, why that wasn't engineered a little larger?
We've expanded those lots to make it to the minimum, and the idea of this neighborhood was to offer some smaller lots. Not quite as small as some other neighborhoods in Steinbach, but kind of to bridge the gap between maybe that executive and the entry-level lot.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I have a question for administration. Because of the question brought up by the public reserve in the corner, generally when those public reserves are put aside for infrastructure or drainage, they're not built on with a sidewalk, are they?
Not necessarily. It depends on the plans of the developer. There is certainly the access to Wyndham Estates Drive, which does provide access for both vehicular traffic and pedestrian traffic. If that particular proposed public reserve is something that the developer wishes to develop as a pathway connection, it might be possible, but primarily it is used for infrastructure connection for sewer, water, drainage, as you mentioned.
Just in the past, we've had concerns about that. Some homeowners have thought they're getting a sidewalk because there is a reserve. I don't want to mislead any homeowners thinking they're going to get a sidewalk. So let's say there's not going to be one at this time.
I'm not aware. I haven't actually seen a plan that shows that.
Okay. Anything further, council? Okay. Is there anyone here with questions or objections to this file? No? Okay, seeing none, we will close the public hearing, open the council meeting. Council, how would you like to proceed? Councillor Swagstra?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make the motion that we approve second reading.
Okay. Second, Councillor Penner? Okay, go ahead, Councillor Swagstra.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think this is a straightforward application. The request here is to rezone a portion of the property from RMD to RSF to residential single family. I think the explanation by the applicant makes sense, that they want to be able to have a greater variety of homes that they're offering to better fit the neighborhood. And it's good to be proactive in this area to look at what the overall neighborhood is, and because obviously the better the fit that is, the more likely that the lots are going to sell and people are going to be interested. So under this plan here, 37 of the lots would be RSF, and then 7 would remain residential medium density. And so it's good to see new development and new residential development in this case continuing in our city during this year. So I think we should move ahead.
Thank you. Anything further, Councillor Penner?
Yeah, I would just like to add that our lot inventory in Steinbach is quite low, so to see a project like this coming forward in the near future is very welcomed.
Thank you. Anything further, Council? Anything in closing?
No.
Okay. Well, Council, to just expand on what Councillor Steinstra had said, sometimes as development starts happening and a developer starts to see how their development's filling out, they realize that their first idea of how they're going to build or what they're going to build might need to be tweaked and changed. And in this case, the developer saw that the Steinbach can be better served with different configuration of lots, and that's why that's done. And no one knows developing better, I would think, than a developer. And so I think that's why I will support this motion. So call for the question. All those in favor? That is carried. We'll go directly into third reading. Do we have a motion for third reading? Councillor Hebert, second by Councillor Hebert. Go ahead, Councillor
I
Hebert.
think Councillor Schweigstra covered it quite well,
Okay.
or very well.
Anything
No further comment.
Okay. Anything further, Council? Anything closing? Call for the question. All those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, Council, we will move next to B, the subdivision 4451, 2020, 8330. Mr. Workendine had introduced it along with the previous file, so we'll go right into it. We will now close the council meeting, open the public hearing, and the applicant just left? Is there anyone here with questions or wanting to object to this file? Okay. Seeing none, are there any questions for administration? Nothing from council? Okay, we'll close the public hearing, open the council meeting. Council, how would you like to proceed? Councillor Penner?
Motion to approve?
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Siemens? Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This allows the subdivision of the lots that we were just working with regards to the rezoning of, and this allows them to build the residential single-family and residential medium-density homes that they are planning to put and open up the road for Winston.
Anything further?
No. Sir?
Anything further of council? Anything closing?
Nope.
Council, I'll just call for the question. All those in favor? And that is carried.
Mr. Mayor, I'll be recusing myself for C and D
Okay.
for conflict of interest.
Okay, then, council, we'll move on to C. This is Conditional Use CU-2020-02. This is referring to 38 Industrial Road. Starts on page 51 of your package. And Mr. Workentine, could you please introduce this file?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of council, conditional use application file CU-2020-02 for 38 Industrial Road. The owner of the subject property is 317 Holdings, Inc., with the applicant for the conditional use being Superior Projects. Purpose of the conditional use application is to allow the subject property to be used for the purpose of outdoor storage. And as per zoning bylaw, city zoning bylaw 2100, outdoor storage is a conditional use in the M1 light industrial zone. Notices as required under the Planning Act have been issued. There is no written correspondence on the file. Recommendation from administration is for council to approve the application.
Thank you, Mr. Workentine. Is the applicant here today? Do would you wish to speak? Yes. Okay, take the podium, state your name and address.
Hello, my name is Evan Schinkel with Superior Projects. This conditional use is fairly straightforward. The property across the street from Lumber Zone is, the hope is to have it as a laydown site for materials. We believe it's in like kind with the neighborhood as you know, this reputable business continues to establish in Steinbach. The plan is to create a gravel pad area and some fence, so nothing too controversial from our perspective.
Thank you. Are there any questions from council? No? Okay. Is there anyone here with questions or wanting to object to this file? No? Okay, seeing none, we will, I will close the public hearing, open the council meeting. Council, how would you like to proceed? Councilor Penner?
Motion to approve?
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Swagsbury? Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. It's important to note this is in an area that is zoned light industrial. Light industrial means there's going to be a moving of materials, and I don't see any reason, especially with fencing being on site, to deny this this conditional use.
Anything further?
That covers it.
Anything further of council? Anything in closing?
Nothing further.
Okay. Well, council, this is pretty straightforward, so we'll ask for the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Okay, council, we'll move down to 6D, which is Variance V-2020-23. This referring to 111 Commerce Drive. Again, this one starts on page 60 on our agenda package. Mr. Workentine, would you please introduce this file?
This application is coming to council under file V-2020-23 and is regarding property at 111 Commerce Drive in Steinbach. The owner of the property is 317 Holdings, Inc., with the applicant for the variance being Superior Projects. Purpose of the variance application seeks council approval to not hard surface the required parking stalls and parking aisle as were required under City of Steinbach zoning bylaw. Notices as required under the Planning Act have been issued. There is no written correspondence received for this file. The variance request arises in connection with a building permit that was applied for by the owner in May of 2013 to redevelop the subject property. A condition of permit and the city zoning bylaw in effect at the time required the hard surfacing for the required parking stalls and parking aisle, and an outstanding work order remains in effect for this property, and to date these deficiencies remain. Therefore, recommendation of administration is that council deny the application.
Thank you, Mr. Workentine. Is the applicant here today? Do you wish to speak? Yes. Take the podium, state your name and address, please.
Joel Hartung, 27 Pleasant Drive in Steinbach.
Go ahead.
Shareholder of the Lumber Zone and 317 Holdings. In hindsight, I now understand the order in which we have approached our Steinbach expansion has been handled wrong, and for that I apologize. Starting from scratch in 2013, we learned quickly we did not know as much as we thought we did. It's been very hard to make sound long-term decisions for our young business. In February 2015, we received a letter from the city clarifying that we needed a paved parking lot off our gravel entrance on 111 Commerce. In May 2015, we received a quote from KC Paving from Sanford, Manitoba to asphalt the required space as per their requirements. I have a copy with me. In June 2015, we were approached with the possibility to purchase 2 additional building supply locations. These locations were owned and operated by an industry acquaintance of mine and belong to the same buying group that the Lumber Zone belongs to. These were long-term building operations in Transcona, Winnipeg, and Stonewall. The opportunity came with special concessions from the current owner to help the Lumber Zone take ownership in still our young infancy. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity we could not pass up. Even if, as business owners, we were not ready to own and operate 3 locations. It also further muddied our decision process for long-term operation in Steinbach. The remainder of 2015 and early 2016 saw us do much planning while managing a growing business. The paving of the parking lot slipped down the to-do list. A plan was solidified for the lumber zone to acquire the additional locations with a February 27 possession date. It was great to have the deal done, but now this further changed what we needed in Steinbach. Our Steinbach location would now be a central hub and distribution center for multiple locations. It would house inventory, trucks, and staff to service all locations. And so we are back to the drawing board. Our internal plans have always included a paved parking lot as per the city mandate from our 2013 building permit. We have met with city building inspectors and civil engineers during this time, gathering info to help us plan what and how we should build. We have looked at countless options for expanding our operation in Steinbach and surrounding in the arm of Hanover. We have recently solidified a plan which we feel fits our budget as well as leaves some room for future growth. We have a picture here that has been up on the screen, what the new store would look like subject to some exterior finish changes. The store expansion seen here, plus an additional warehouse, would be constructed at 111 Commerce Drive, as the proposed site plan shows. In order to move forward, however, we need to get the variance approved. This plan finalizes where buildings will be situated on our 3-acre parcel and will allow us to finish the property in a tasteful way that helps our business grow. Again, I apologize for not applying sooner. Knowing that construction was in the near future, I felt it was a better decision to wait until we had solidified a plan to present. This entire process has been very foreign to me and a bit intimidating. My experience is in buying and selling building products, not in developing commercial property. Please consider that if the variance does not go through, we will be required to pave our existing lot to come into compliance. Then we need to remove that paving for the proposed building expansion. Evan from Superior Projects, who we hired to manage the project, will now give a little more information.
Thank you. I'm really proud to be here as both a customer and a client of Lumber Zone. And I'm also fortunate to be a part of this great community which Lumber Zone is investing into. At the end of the day, the product that we're hoping to build here will be much better than it is now, both for the city and the customers that come to this store. So this is the subject site, and if you would, another slide. And the original civil plan as shown on the PowerPoint here. I'd like to first mention the plans to expand exclude this existing warehouse. Our intention is to remove it because it's not in compliance. It's actually not more than a few feet from the property line, much more than obviously the side yard required. So that being said, the paving doesn't really work with those plans. Even if we were to pave this area, we're also removing this building just to make the neighborhood a better place and the neighbors to the immediate east of the property. So the future plans will obviously correct that remedy. I'll also like to say that although Lumber Zone faces Industrial Drive, which is paved, it has access to Commerce Drive, which is gravel. Previous businesses and neighbors don't currently have any paving, as we were in a unique situation at the time of 2013 when the bylaws required hard surface parking. Prior to 2010, it was like for like, and after 2018, it went back, obviously, as you know, to that same bylaw. This means that if Lumber Zone had opened 4 years earlier, it would not have had to pave, and if it would have opened 5 years later, again, it wouldn't have had to pave. I'd like to draw your attention to the city bylaw 150.2, which says maintain that properties are maintained so that loose material is not dislodged, thrown, or carried onto adjacent public roads. And I suspect this is the reason For this same reason, Lumber Zone is looking to apply for this variance since this gravel may be carried on to their paving, and we hope that, to maintain our internal roads just like the city is hoping to maintain their own. The reason this is important is because the nature of Lumber Zone business and the type of traffic that we have onto the parking lot, particularly loose gravel. By removing this paving requirement and treating Lumber Zone as being on gravel in accordance with the bylaw 2100, it allows us to be much more flexible in how much paving we choose to go ahead with and how much we choose to be left with gravel. For this reason, I ask you to approve the variance to remove paving requirements for this property, both retroactively and moving forward under the 2018 revisions to bylaw 2100. Again, please excuse the tardiness of this variance. It can sometimes take some time to figure it out, and a plan doesn't always work out the way you want. I'm encouraged by the plan moving forward, which will, again, create a great product that will better serve the city and the customers that come to it. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. Council, do you have any questions for the applicant? Councillor Swakes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question for either Mr. Hartung or Mr. Schinkel. I'm just in the variance request form here. It states that this paving, like the paving that would have been required, does not align with the expansion plans, and new hard surfacing paving will be installed as per the conceptual plan attached. Could you just clarify in terms of how much, in terms of this new paving would be? Would it be at least as much as what the old paving would have been? I realize it wouldn't be at the same location for obvious reasons, but with the new hard surfacing that you're planning to put in, would that be at least approximately the equivalent as what you would have had to put in before?
Yes, it would. It would actually be more. Obviously, at the conceptual stage, we want to take some time to figure that out. With this approval, it'll allow us to do that. Our intention is to hard surface the parking for customers either way. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything further? Any other questions of council? Go ahead, Councillor.
I'd like to know that the applicant, Mr. Mayor, through you, I'd just like to put in, for what it's worth, the applicant has sort of put council into a area spot here when you had an outstanding agreement with us, you haven't fulfilled it, and now because of the new conceptual drawings and plans, it's sort of, the old one is moot. So a little concerning to me as council, and I'm just wondering, maybe a good question would be, why in 7 years has that parking lot not been paved, other than Mr. Hartung is saying that due to budgetary restraints or whatever, they were unable to?
I don't think it was as much as budgetary restraints as we did not have a plan what we knew going forward what we would build, and that is one of the reasons that I didn't apply for a variance, is because I didn't know what to present as far as what we were doing. The first original store that we are operating in now was actually built as a warehouse. We had plans very quickly after we opened, as we saw it expanding, to use that as a warehouse, and when the other stores were purchased, then it totally changed what we needed in Steinbach. We have further plans to expand to other locations, and so that will mean we even need more space and room in Steinbach. So that is why we have come up with this conceptual drawing and are looking for improvement to get things done and wrapped up so we can move forward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead, Councillor Ebert.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. My question is, would you have a date as to when this paving would happen?
Pretty confident to say that it won't make it in this year, but most definitely in 2021.
Okay. Sir.
Any further questions? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here with questions or wanting to object to this file? Thank you. Seeing none, we will then close the public hearing, open the council meeting. Council, how would you like to proceed? Councillor Swagstra?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will make the motion that we approve the application, subject to the condition that the equivalent of hard surfacing that was required at the time of the original building permit be completed within 1 year of occupancy of any new construction on the site.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Hebert. Okay, go ahead, Councillor Swagstra.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Obviously, with variance applications, it's always a balancing act, and this is no exception, where we have a situation where we have a business that we appreciate within our city that is growing and that we want to continue to grow, and at the same time, we have a challenge where we have an initial requirement that was not fulfilled at the time that it should have been fulfilled, and of course, that creates the situation as it is now. I appreciate the explanation given by Mr. Hartung. I find that it was straightforward and honest and candid, and everyone makes mistakes, including business owners, particularly when you're starting a brand new business. I think we need to recognize that starting a business is no easy thing, and businesses, that's who employs people within our city, our businesses. So let's not lose sight of that. And so we've got this situation here where they are planning to expand, but there's this outstanding work order. And I think a reasonable compromise in this approach is that we approve the variance, because it makes no sense to require them to put in parking that's going to be ripped up right away. I mean, we need to use common sense here, and I think we're a council that's able to do that. So we're obviously not going to require useless parking to go in that's going to disappear. But they've already stated that they intend to have hard surface parking for their customers. And so I think that making it so that they have to construct at least the equivalent of what they would have had to do before is reasonable, particularly since they're planning to have some hard surface parking there anyway. I put in the 1 year within 1 year of occupancy to allow a little bit of flexibility, as far as I don't want to have a situation where they can't occupy it because the parking's not quite done yet. I want to have a little bit of flexibility here, but I do also want to send a message that we do want to hold to that they're committing that they're going to put in hard surfacing for parking for customers, and they would have had to do it anyway if we hadn't approved the variance. So let's have that accountability there. So I think this is a reasonable approach. I think it allows the business to expand. We want them to expand, and also at the same time sends the message that that we do want to see work orders completed. And yes, this is late, but this is going to be a much better finished product in terms of the business than it would have been if we had denied. So I think that this is the best approach.
Anything further, Councillor Hebert?
Just like to compliment the applicant on the presentation here today. Appreciate it. And appreciate the work that your company does here in town, and how you add to the economy of our city. I like the resolution forwarded by Councillor Swagstra in that there's the equivalent in hard topping, and also that there is a time limit. Obviously, the work order you guys had in 2013 didn't have a time limit, and this one has a time limit. So I appreciate it, and therefore I agree.
Thank you. Anything further, Council? Councillor Penner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will not be supporting the motion, and simply on the basis of the fact that I don't believe that the time limit should be 1 year. This should have been done 7 years ago. I don't disagree with anything that was already said by Councillor Swagstra, but I do believe that unless he was willing to accept a friendly amendment of that occupancy permit would not be allowed until the hard topping was done, I will not be able to vote in favor of this motion.
Okay. Thank you. Anything further? Anything in closing?
Just very briefly, Mr. Mayor, I think that as far as the issue of the 1 year there, I chose to put it in because I do want to have a little bit of flexibility. I don't want to have a situation where business can't occupy because the parking lot didn't quite get finished yet. I think allowing for 1 year is reasonable, and it'll get done. And I have no trouble at all believing, based on the presentation we've heard and the condition we put on, it's going to happen probably sooner than within 1 year. So, but I appreciate Councillor Penner's comments. I get where he's coming from, but I'm comfortable with the 1 year.
Well, Council, I will support the motion. I think that the 1 year time frame is reasonable. I get it, and as I can appreciate what Mr. Hartung has said, you get busy, you don't have a plan, you want it to open, you're growing exponentially, way beyond your control and what you thought you were doing. I was there, I know that, and you miss things. And because you're just trying to survive and you're trying to get through this. And I get that. And things can, weeks work into months, months into years. And before you know it, almost a decade is gone and you didn't complete something you promised to do. But I do believe that this motion going forward will take care of that. And by you accepting it, you've agreed to the year. And I think it's great to see a business growing so fast in our community and supplying jobs and growing and using land. It's what we want to see as a council. So council, call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Nice little COVID break.
We're good now.
Okay, council. We will move on to number 7, which is our delegation. Daryl Braun from the Shock Trauma Air Rescue Service, which is known as STARS. Daryl, welcome. Good to see you here, and you have the floor. Go ahead.
Mayor Funk and Council, it's truly an honor to be here. It's amazing the lengths I had to go to get back into council chambers to book a presentation. But it's truly an honor to be here to speak to you tonight. I think there have been a few changes on council since the last time STARS presented. So I will go with a brief history to start things off. STARS was founded in 1985. Dr. Greg Powell launched the initiative in Calgary when yet another young mom died during childbirth simply because of the length of time it took to get her to hospital by ground ambulance. If she'd gotten to hospital just 20 minutes sooner, it's very likely she would have survived. The Calgary base then opened in 1985, followed by Edmonton in 1991, the Grand Prairie base in 2006. The Winnipeg base opened in 2011, with Regina and Saskatoon following in 2012. Simply put, STARS exists to save lives. We were brought here by the community, for the community, to provide the best in critical care and rapid transport to hospital. And we couldn't carry out this mission without the support of our allies in the community. We like to start with this brief video as it touches on our origins, as well as the importance of support from organizations and municipalities like Steinbach.
Before the missions, before the crew, before the fuel, flight suits, and gear, before our first coat of red paint, there was a need for vision, a need for response, a need for courage. you from the community, for the community. And as long as there's a need, we'll be there. With you by our sides, we are all stars.
From an organizational perspective, we've flown more than 45,000 missions since 1985. The Manitoba base has flown over 3,900 missions since it opened, and no patient in Manitoba has ever received a bill for being transported by the helicopter. Steinbach is second only to Selkirk for the most STARS missions in the province. STARS has done 202 missions to Steinbach in the past 8 years, including 33 last year and 31 the year before. That's an average of almost 3 missions each month, either for accidents or inter-hospital transfers. Along with the more than 200 calls to Steinbach, we've flown hundreds of missions throughout southeastern Manitoba since operations began in 2011. One of those missions took us to Grunthal, where our crew was able to partner with local first responders to save the life of Charity Edwards when she was injured while riding her bike.
I remember everything about that day. You know, getting a phone call from my older daughter, hysterical on the phone, crying, Charity got hit, Charity got hit. So I rushed over there and Charity was lying down unconscious in the shoulder.
They flew down and came and picked me up and dropped me off at this children's hospital. People from the community, the fire department, STARS crew showed up at the party. You know, it was a great potluck. She got lots of presents, got to meet everyone. Because I wanted to meet and remember the people that came and helped me, like, survive.
That's what we primarily use to navigate.
And I'm just very thankful she's still here with me today. I can still go into her room to this day and look at her bed and say, oh, you know what? If things had been different, she wouldn't be here. Thank you to everyone who was involved, especially the STARS crew, you know, for being an integral part of saving my little girl's life. I remember everything about that day.
Team. Along with more than, at STARS, we often use the terms time, tool, and talent. As this slide notes, when you put the right tools in the hands of the best talent, you won't just save time, you'll save lives. STARS helicopters have a custom-designed medical interior to ensure top-level critical care on all flights. The support of our donors not only allows us to have the best equipment available, it enables us to seek out innovations in patient care. STARS is the first helicopter air ambulance service in Canada to carry blood on board for life-saving transfusions. There have been occasions when blood transfusions have begun at the scene of an accident while the victim is still trapped inside a vehicle. Another example of innovation is the onboard ultrasound program. We're the only helicopter service in Canada using this technology in this manner. It enables our medical professionals to more accurately assess internal injuries at the scene of an accident. These innovations, among others, are directly contingent on fundraising.
Star 9 Link Center, pre-alert for scene call 30 nautical miles from the city.
Roger, standby weather check, please.
Link Center copy, standing by for weather.
Link Center, Star 9, the weather is looking good. We accept the mission.
Stars AMC? Yeah, copy that. Standing by for dispatch tones. We're dispatched to an MBC.
Star 9, this is Link Center. You're dispatched for a scene call 30 nautical miles southwest of the city. Patient weight 80 kilograms.
Another important part of the work that STARS does is education. Our highly trained team uses human patient simulators to work with local doctors, nurses, and paramedics throughout the province, giving them an opportunity to test and to practice their reactions and skills. We have 2 mobile education units that are specially equipped buses which travel around the province to provide the education at no cost to emergency care providers. The MEU is at Bethesda Regional Health Center several times a year to provide this training. It enables our local doctors, paramedics, and nurses to up their game in responding to emergencies. The cost of the program is covered by donors. We also have an Operation Outreach program to train emergency responders how to land the helicopter and how to prepare patients for transport. Again, this is all funded by donations. So how are STARS and its education programs funded? We are a charitable, non-for-profit organization that operates on a community-partnered model that consists of government funding, municipal support as part of emergency services budgets, community fundraising, individual donations, and corporate support. Funds that are raised in Manitoba stay in Manitoba. Also, under the current contract with the Manitoba government, which runs until 2022, the province provides up to $10 million in annual funding. This agreement covers 89% of the annual operating cost of the Winnipeg base. The remaining funds are acquired through fundraising. Our contract with the province will expire in 2022, and part of our effort to secure a new contract is to grow community support, as STARS has done in Saskatchewan and Alberta. This shows the province how much the service is valued in Manitoba and expands the network of support. Almost all municipalities in Saskatchewan and Alberta, and a growing number in Manitoba, are including STARS as part of their emergency services budget. Our fundraising efforts take place throughout the year and include our own internal events such as Rescue on the Island and the upcoming Critical Care on the Air Radiothon. In Steinbach, there's the annual Raise the Rotors dinner, which this year had to be canceled because of COVID-19. STARS is part of the local emergency response chain, where a municipality's first responders are first on the scene along with EMS. And then when needed, STARS brings higher level help to the scene before a patient is transported to hospital where they become part of the provincial healthcare system. We are requesting that you consider an annual contribution to STARS. We feel that STARS has become a vital addition to the Steinbach emergency response team. The city's contribution, along with growing support from other Manitoba municipalities, will also provide further evidence to the province regarding the value of renewing the STARS contract beyond 2022. Thanks a lot for your time. Are there any questions?
Council, do you have any questions for Daryl, the presenter? Go ahead, Councillor Switz.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Daryl, for your presentation. And it's different seeing you there as opposed to there, but you're still serving the community. So you mentioned that a growing number of municipalities in Manitoba are making it part of the emergency budget. Would be some examples of? Do you have some examples of some fairly recent ones that have come on board, and
yes,
what's been happening there?
The RM of Hanover came aboard a few months ago. They've decided, I believe, to contribute about $5,000. The RM of St. Anne, I believe, is contributing $1 per capita for 5 years, is the commitment they've made for now, which works out to about $5,000 a year. Those are two recent ones in the local area that I recall.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Obviously has been seen stars in the community. I myself was first on scene as a civilian when STARS was called in on a flight, and it's an amazing thing to see how quickly STARS can actually respond to get out to a scene and start transporting critical patients. I know we've had correspondence from STARS before, and we always say when people come forward for what is the specific ask, and I believe it has been included in the correspondence before. If you could just refresh my memory, Daryl, what is the...
In the past, we have been asking for $1 per capita, but, again, that's something that you will consider as a council, but that has been suggested as a guideline. Saskatchewan and Alberta, a lot of municipalities are $2 and even higher per capita.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further, Council?
I might just quickly add that something that I've learned along the way that I didn't know, but our ground ambulance EMS people are all level 1 paramedics. All of the STARS paramedics are level 3 advanced care. So what they can do at the scene compared to a regular ground EMS is considerably more advanced. So it's based on that whole principle. Dr. Powell, who founded STARS, actually went to Saigon as a young medical student and went to a MASH unit, and that's what planted this seed in his mind. So it's bringing the high-level care to the scene to keep the people alive. In the case of a family member of ours, they did surgery on him on the ground, these paramedics, just to keep him alive, to get him to Winnipeg. Long, slow recovery, but had they not been there, he would have never made it.
Anything further of council? Well, Daryl, thank you very much. It was a very good presentation, and we do know that STARS does an amazing job in our community and in our province. And we'll definitely take your ask under consideration, and we're coming up to building our budget, so this is not a bad time for an ask, but we will definitely will have to get back to you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Wish you all the best. Thank you.
Okay, council, we will move ahead forward to 9C. This is the building permits for August. Council, we've had another stellar month. Just over $8.5 million with a considerable amount of commercial development. So we're just looking for a motion to approve. Councillor Swagstra, second by Councillor Penner. Go ahead, Councillor Swagstra.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Councillor Penner, anything further?
Nothing further to what you said.
Okay, well, nothing further of council? Nothing in close? Call for the question. All those in favor? That's carried. 9D, excavator license. Looking for a motion to approve. Councillor Siemens, second by Councillor Hebert. Any comments?
I love to see them work.
Call for the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Okay, we have bylaw 2056 Acres Drive. This is street naming. We'll do first and second reading tonight. Mr. Worthing, could you please introduce this file?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this bylaw 2156, the road renaming for a portion of Acres Drive, is a housekeeping matter. It was discovered upon an application from a neighboring property owner to develop their property that this particular portion of the street was never officially named. Recommendation is for council to give this first and second reading so that it can have a name.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Worthing. Council, how would you like to proceed? Councillor Swagstra?
Make the motion we approve.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Hebert? Go ahead, Councillor Swain.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's clear, every street deserves a name. It has a right to a name. It shouldn't just be an abandoned street, so let's name it.
Councillor Evers.
I will second that.
Anything further of council? Anything closing? Call for the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Okay, we'll go right into second reading. Motion for second reading, please. Councillor Siemens, second by Councillor Hebert. Nothing further?
Question.
No question? Go ahead.
Call for the question.
Oh, call for the, okay. Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, we got 9F is the Board of Revision. Council this year, Board of Revision will change for 1 year. We've got an addition, which will be Jake Hebert. He will be accompanying
Abe Hebert.
Abe Hebert,
We
sorry.
need Jake Hebert here.
Oh, Jake.
Hey, thank you for your vote of confidence.
You know, there's so many Heberts. Sorry. He will be accompanying Jack Kaler and Dwight Reimer. Council would just need a motion to approve this, the Board of Revision. Councillor Penner, second by Councillor Siemens. Any comments? Okay. Call for the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Okay, council question period. Is there any questions of council? Yes, go ahead,
Thank you, Mr.
Councillor.
Mayor. The question is, can we put the STARS presentation on our November study session for discussion?
How's the session of council? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Orkney, you'll make that happen? Okay, thank you. 11, there are no correspondence and petitions. There's no other business. Motion for adjournment. Councillor Hebert, second by Councillor Penner. Call for the question. All those in favor? It's carried. The next regular council meeting is Tuesday, October 6th, 2020 at 7:30. Thank you, Council.
Well, the thing is, it takes up